Welcome to the Made for More podcast. You're joining us in our second series titled Walk With, where we explore different issues of mental health that people could be going through and how we can walk with them well. Although we get mental health professionals in this season, none of them are doctors, so please, if you need help or if anything we discuss in the podcast triggers you, pause the podcast and call your GP. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to our Made for More podcast, where we are journeying mental health. We hope that you have been enjoying this series so far. We are on episode 7, which I can hardly believe that we are here, but we are, and we just want to thank all the professionals that have been on so far. We have loved journeying with them, and we've loved journeying with you as well. So thank you for all the feedback you've been giving us. As with our first series, it's just really helpful whenever you do give us feedback. We love to know that you're actually listening as well, which is really, really good. So thank you for listening, thank you for engaging, and if you missed any of the podcasts, just jump right in. They're all on our website. They're available streaming on every platform you can think of, and they're all up there. But today, I'm very excited because we have our gorgeous Sophie Boyle in the room. So, Sophie, why don't you just introduce yourself? Thank you for coming on, first of all.
You are more than welcome.
And why don't you just share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, so I'm Sophie. I'm 26 now, and I work as a dietitian in the Royal.
Interesting.
It's a lot of lols. It's a lot of lols.
Zero lols. It's zero of that. But yes, I thank you so much for coming on. It's so good. And you already see a lot in your profession. Obviously, you work in the hospital and things like that. But when it comes to mental health, we just need to disclose you're not a mental health professional.
No.
So if anyone is struggling with anything, please, anything that Sophie said, she's going to share her story today. And if anything triggers anything within you, please go speak to your GP and get the help that you need there. But why don't you start by just sharing a little bit of your story, a little bit of your journey with mental ill health, and just share as much or as little as you would like to.
Yeah, sounds good. So whenever I got the opportunity to do this, I was like, yes, totally. I love Made for More. I love what you guys do, and I think it's so amazing. And I just think, would my life be different if maybe this was around kind of when my first surfacing of mental health problems arose? And I would honestly say I was probably 13 years old, and I didn't really understand. I genuinely thought that this is how everyone felt. I would say that I probably have had a background lowness since that 13-year-old stage, and I really struggled because nothing traumatic happened in my life, nothing major. I have really loving parents, a really comfortable life, friends, everything tick, 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 tick. But there was just always this background, lowness that was just always there. And I just kind of thought, that's just me, and that's how it is. Or
being a teenager, or
literally hormones, all that kind of stuff. But it was very present. And I think, whenever I look back, I didn't know what it was, because I was probably a bit scared of it as well, because, I never really told anyone about how I was feeling, because I thought it would just be brushed off as, I didn't even know what words to put to it.
It's even the language, because I think I'm 3 years older than you, but whenever we were at school, nobody had anxiety, no one talked about depression, that was never a thing. So we didn't even have language ourselves, never mind our parents or teachers, the generation above us.
Exactly.
Who had even less of an idea what that was. So
exactly, definitely. And even there was such a poor relationship with those types of words as well. My memories of it is, her Facebook statuses. He still does those. But it would be these really random, really girls would put up these statuses about their anxiety.
Yeah.
It was quite I don't want to say the word attention seeking, but that's what those girls were labelled as.
Yeah.
If they ever spoke out about it.
Yes. So then you're just well, I'm never going to. You're I'm maybe experiencing something similar, but there's no way I'm going to be labelled with that.
Yeah. I was I do not want that label. That's not something I want put over me. But it was when I was 22. So I had a breakdown of a relationship, and, lots of conversations were happening at that time. And it was the strangest thing, because I felt a new sense of freedom because I was like, finally, there is something external that is wrong with my life. Like, finally, people can look at me and say, okay, yeah, Sophie has had a hard time. Like, she has every right to feel like that.
Yeah.
And that really scared me because I was like, but guys, I've been feeling like this for maybe 10 years now.
Yes.
And finally, I was able to give voice to those feelings that were actually so deep rooted, but people just assumed were just as a consequence of that what had happened. So I actually went to my GP, and that was probably the scariest thing I've ever, like, walking into that room, and just not even knowing where to begin.
Yeah.
Like, how do I start to say, yes, I am aware that this has happened in my life, but let's rewind. This has been going on for way longer than this.
Yeah.
And this is the breaking point of me coming and seeking help.
Yeah.
So it was then when I went to my GP, I got the diagnosis of depression. And it was interesting because even just with the series of events, I'd actually got a new job, like literally the day after I'd been to my GP. And whenever you're doing like your work checks and stuff, you have to like put down what medical conditions you have.
Okay.
So I was like, oh yeah, I have migraines. I can put that down because that's like, you know, that's like tangible, that's
physical.
You know, like that's understandable.
Easier, yeah.
And I remember like really thinking and looking at the page being like, do I put this down?
Can I put this down?
Yeah.
Will this affect me?
Literally, I was like, once I do this, this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, like working in the hospital, I see people's medical histories when they come in, and I'm like, I'm now one of those people who have anxiety and depression on their medical history. Yeah. And so that was a big step even in itself, like literally the day after to be faced with that of.
How did it feel whenever you got that, I don't want to say label, but the diagnosis from the GP that they said, yeah, you actually fit, the depression would be what you would have?
Yeah, I think it was, part of me was a bit of a relief of, okay, I'm a very pragmatic person. So I was like, right, this is what I have, action from diagnosis, you know. So it was then that I started my antidepressants, and like, this is a current day thing. Like, I'm still on these antidepressants. I've been kind of on and off them. I've tried different ones. I've tried different doses. Different ones have different side effects, and I can tell you.
Yeah, they haven't all been good.
Oh, no.
They're not all the same.
Not all the same. So, and even, like, I think my relationship with my tablets changes. You know, some days.
In what sort of a way?
So it got to the point where I honestly really struggled with ordering my tablets because I was like, this is another month of me on these. Here we go for another month. This is me. You know, that kind of like health fatigue of this is, you know, this is still going on. Yeah. Even like if you'd told me a year ago that I'd still be on these, I'd be really disheartened that that's still the story. Yeah. So it got to the point where I would sometimes not order them in time, and then by the time you ring and then you get them, like there'd maybe be like 4 days missing or so, and like the vertigo and the nausea was, I felt so ill when I was off them because I'd missed that dosage, and even that scared me in myself of what are these tablets doing to my body? Yes. But then what even more so scared me was when I looked at myself and I was like, no, I actually really need these. Like, I had a very poor relationship with my tablets for a long time, but thankfully I am a lot better with taking them every day. And even so, it got to the point where I couldn't order my own tablets. Like, I just couldn't do it.
Just because of the, like, do you think you could think of a word? Like, was it the shame of it, the disappointment in yourself? Like, what was it in yourself? Because you've said obviously you didn't think a year from now you'd still be on those, but to not be able to order your own tablets when you knew physically, even symptom physically, you needed them.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it was the shame and the kind of just hopelessness of thinking this is still it. Like, I still need this. So like one of the things that I put in place to help me in that season was I actually got a really close friend to order them for me. Okay. So my pharmacy and GP use like a voicemail automated thing. So I just gave her my name, my date of birth, my address, my tablet name and its dose, and I
Yes.
knew that she would sort that for me. And
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like, add community, but that is phenomenal. That's what community is there for. And anyone who we would try, anyone who would come in for counselling, or we would always make sure that they're surrounded with a support system. And it's for things like that.
Totally.
You know, you can't do any of this journey on your own.
Exactly. And it was something as small as ringing and
Yeah.
leaving a voicemail that
Yeah.
literally takes 30 seconds. But there are times when I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I also then obviously looked into other kind of treatments and stuff. So I have been on lots of courses of talking therapy. So I've done kind of counselling and also CBT and things like that. And it took a wee while to click with some counsellors. I think, you know, just because you have one, don't just write it off completely. Like
Yeah.
the first counsellor I went to, she was a wee bit cuckoo, not gonna lie.
I've been to many counsellors that I did not. Jamie was actually sharing in one of our first episodes of this season. It was his third counsellor that he clicked with. So,
Yeah.
but you do go once and you're like, counselling's awful. It's like, no, you just don't click with the therapist. Like, sometimes the counsellor will be amazing, sometimes the therapist, and you just won't. It's just not for you. It's like friends. Like, some
Exactly.
people you're just like, oh, they're not really my people. Sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh, they're just my people. Like, and I honestly think the biggest thing in counselling is your relationship with your therapist. If that's not there, they can be the best therapist on the planet. You're getting nowhere.
Exactly.
So I think you're doing the right thing, like trying to find someone who did get. So you're saying that your relationship with your tablets changed. Could you talk us through that? So you went through your friend having to order them. You didn't really want to be on them. You tried different things. How has it changed?
I think so my kind of a picture actually my dad gave me that has made my journey, I felt more a lot at peace about it, was if you're from North Down, you might know Scrabo Tower.
Yeah.
So a couple of years, like actually probably 10 years ago now, that's ages away, I feel old, but so we would drive past it every so often, and you know, there was one day that all the scaffolding was up and you didn't really ever notice that it was, you never saw the workmen putting up the scaffolding to do the repairs, like you never saw them there.
Yeah.
And then like the years would go on, and then suddenly one day when we were driving past, the scaffolding was gone.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And that just kind of encouraged me to think, you know, this has been a long process and probably will continue to be a long process, but I really hope there will be a day when I'll look back and I'll see that the scaffolding's all down.
Yeah.
Like I really hope there will be a day when I will be able to come off my tablets and everything like that, obviously within the medical advice of my GP and with that support, and maybe reintroducing talking therapies again.
Yeah.
Like there will be a day when I will be able to look back on Scrabo Tower as such and say the scaffolding's down, and it won't be like a flick of the switch, I don't believe, for me.
Yeah.
But I think that has given me a lot of peace to just keep going, just keep being really proactive of the things that I do to kind of keep my mental health good, and that includes taking my tablets every day and just chatting with people and just
Because there will be a lot of people on here, and obviously we're not the type of podcast that's saying about tablets or not tablets.
Yeah.
That's not a conversation we're getting into, but we are advocating that people get help.
Yeah, exactly.
And we advocate that people go and speak to their GP, especially because you're saying that lowness that you felt from 13. So many teenagers feel that lowness, but actually don't know who to speak to, don't feel that they can speak to anyone.
Yeah.
Our main advice would be talk to somebody, tell a trusted adult that you are struggling, that things aren't good. Book in with your GP, go see your GP and make a plan from there. They'll have a plan and you'll get on the best thing for you.
Exactly.
But the best thing is just speak to someone.
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah. don't stay there. So thank you for sharing your story of medication, because there is, like, as you say, stigma around that, and as you like say, you even had stigma yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That you had to overcome, but actually it's realizing for yourself that's what's best for you right now. That's how you get to work, you get to function, you get to thrive in life, is with help of these tablets.
Exactly.
At the minute, and as you're saying, hopefully one day that scaffolding will come down, but for right now it's just about being like at peace that this is where you're at, and actually these are something that's really helping me right now.
Exactly.
So thank you for being honest and sharing about that. So if we're kind of talking to teenagers, talking to people who are walking alongside teenagers, this series obviously is called Walk With. So if you were walking with someone who had depression, like yourself, whether it was from, I thought it was really interesting what you said, that you'd struggled with depression, but then finally there was like an event that you could like kind of pin your depression on, that it was suddenly socially acceptable to have depression, because there was something that it was okay that you were, it couldn't just happen because you lived a good life, you know, there was nothing that was negative, so people would think, well, what's she down about, you know. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So, but for those people who are maybe in the same boat, they're like, I have no idea why I feel like this, I just feel like this. So maybe parents are dealing with young people like that, maybe youth workers, teachers, whatever that looks like. If someone is walking alongside someone, what advice would you give? What tips would you give them in how to help walk alongside them well and beneficially? That's saying that they've gone to their GP already and they're getting the help that they need, but how could they, in addition, walk? So you're saying, like, for example, your friend rang for your tablets because that was something you need, which is amazing. But what else could you think of that would be helpful?
I would say probably never, ever, ever let the words, but you don't look depressed, come out of your mouth.
Yes. I
think that I've been really hurt by that a lot of the time. And, you know, I sometimes describe it to people as, if someone was to, you know, if you're sitting in your front room and someone drives into your driveway and the lights of the car are really, really bright, sometimes the lights stay on the car once the person's got out of the car, and they might come to the window, and you actually won't see the person in front of you in the window because the lights of the headlights of the car are so bright. Yeah. I would say that is my relationship with it. Like, I'd say there will probably be people here who listen to this podcast and think, I did not know Sophie was depressed. I didn't know that this is like an ongoing thing for her. I never would have guessed that. And that's like the lights of the car shining really brightly, that you actually miss the person behind it all. Like, you miss the person standing right in front of you because the lights are so bright. And, you know, my version of the bright lights are going out and having fun, like giggly, laughing, all the chat. Like, I appear really confident from outlookers, but actually when I look at myself as the person standing just against the window, like, it's a very different person, and I can sometimes blind people by my behaviours. Do
you think that's a bit of a coping mechanism as well, that you know covers it up?
It completely covers it up, and it avoids those questions. So I'd say for people journeying with people is just really look for really slight changes in personalities, or, you know, if someone starts a conversation, don't shut it down. Like, be brave. It actually takes a lot of courage for the person to start the conversation, but I think we really need to give credit to the people who are also on the other side of the conversation. Like, it's really hard to be someone listening to someone you love tell them really difficult things to hear.
Yes.
Like, that's really,
really hard.
Really hard. And you always want to try and fix stuff. Like, I have friends who journey with mental health problems too, and I just want to fix it. But actually what I need to do is just sit and listen and be brave, and don't put myself on them, and just give them the space to be really honest and really real, and not try to like think of all the solutions all at once. Like, that's a journey. It can be, you know, in a couple of weeks' time and stuff. But I'd say, never say you don't look depressed, and just
because it's like, what does depression look like?
Exactly.
Like, what is that?
Exactly.
You know, I think that's really good, and I think it's like, when someone would come to you, it's not showing it with your face. Like, you know, not thinking, oh,
exactly.
I can't believe that. Like, don't do that. Just be, you know, because if you do that, you've just shut down the whole conversation.
Exactly.
So it's just about giving them like that unconditional love, that unconditional acceptance, all of that sort of thing. So thank you. That is really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. And I think one of the things is to remember, especially when we're dealing with depression, don't be afraid to ask. I think sometimes
people are afraid to ask, like, are you thinking of ending your life?
Yeah.
Or do you still want to be here? Because a lot of parents I would hear say to me, but I don't want to put that in their head. Like, I don't want it to make them think. Like, and just to assure you, you will never put that in someone's head. Like, if someone is depressed, if someone is suicidal, they're thinking it already. Like, if you can see it visibly from them, the thoughts are already there. So you will, and if there hasn't, you saying that will never put that in someone's head, you know. So always ask the question, because it opens up the conversation.
Definitely. And I think even, you know, I would never have labelled myself as someone with suicidal ideation, but I would have had those feelings of, I really don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. You know, even though I would never, I have a very low pain threshold. So I feel like I could never take that step to do anything. But even those thoughts themselves are unhealthy, and you don't need to live with them. Yeah. You know, I kind of thought my attitude to it was, well, I'm never going to do it, so I can't actually label myself as someone who is suicidal. But I had those deep feelings of, I don't want to wake up in the morning. I don't want to be here. Like, I don't have it in me to keep going. Yeah. Even though I didn't have a plan as such to do it. It was still a very, very, very real thought. Yeah. So always kind of asking the question. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, don't run from the question. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Just be direct and have those questions. But also, if you're going to ask the question, you need to posture yourself for a response that you might, especially if you're a parent, that you might not want to hear. I know, because it is heartbreaking to hear when you love someone so much and you see them in pain. You just want to do everything you can for them, and for them to turn around and say that that's their solution. Yeah, that's really hard for that person to hear. So it's just keeping the conversation open and going. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate you being here, giving up your time, and also sharing your story. It's a privilege when anybody shares their story. It's a privilege to walk alongside someone who is sharing their story. So honestly, you will have helped so many people. And for anyone who is struggling, please reach out. Please talk to someone, share with someone what is going on, and get the help that you need. You heard Sophie say that she got medication. That was the most perfect thing for her, but she tried talking therapies, which could be the solution for you. The worst thing is to do nothing. Do something, and on your way to get better. So guys, thank you for today. That's the end of this episode, and we will see you next week.